Hello, everybody. It is 1 minute before midnight, before Tuesday becomes Wednesday. And I wanted to just jump on and do a little short video. I realize I haven't posted anything new for it's 3 weeks now. And if I continue to go through some of what I've been going through, it would be probably another 3 weeks before I sat down to do anything. I had a channeling session earlier tonight for one of my classes. And so I have a lot of energy and I know I'm not going to be sleeping. So I figured, all right, just get on here and get this done. And so part of my reasons for doing the YouTube part of everything is, of course, the request of Peter and Ma-Ryah. And also for my own self, for my own facing fears. And even though I've done a lot of work with it, and as my very first video says, it's something that I resisted. I did everything I could to keep myself small and not get um, too well known or anything like that. I was always fine getting known in areas where I lived, but the thought of going broader always upset me, and I had a lot of fear with it. I still have resistance, and doing it has brought up some areas that I thought that I had a handle on enough that it wouldn't affect anything, and I would be putting up at least one video a week with Ma-Ryah and Peter. And since I'm doing this, I will be posting a few days after this a video of Peter and Ma-Ryah in the next communication from them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like being a vessel for an energy like Peter and an energy like Ma-Ryah. Since they are infinite beings and their energy is in accordance with that, it has taken years and years for them to be able to increase the energy that I connect with and not affect my body in a negative way. Because the more of their energy that connects and comes through, the more of their absolute love enters. And wherever there's that love, any area of myself that isn't in complete harmony and balance, whether it is a thought, uh, a belief, a physical imbalance, no matter what it is, their energy intensifies it until I learn to adapt to it. And also, I do the work associated with what is the resistance, what is the fear, what is the shadow. I always refer to the work that they do as a shadow transformation. And perhaps it helps to have an understanding of what they mean by that and what I mean by it. When we're born into this world, right, we enter into the finite universe. We come with different scripts and different processes that we are going to experience. And we pick up scripts carried in what we perceive as a past life. And we say that this is something I'm going to transform this lifetime. It's no longer going to stay a shadow. It's no longer going to have the ability to diminish me, to keep me from doing anything that I choose to do, and to allow myself to be seen more clearly and more securely in who I am outside of the human being. And with the acknowledgement that while we are human, we are also spirit and soul. And spirit and soul having the experience of the finite human being experience and picking up the scripts and patterns and roles that we are able to create outside of that, and to believe in any way that we are just mere humans, right? We can't be held accountable. Of course, we are, but we're held accountable within our own self, and that no one has the ability to change us unless we give them that power, or we give them permission to assist us to change. And then it still requires our own self to process it, to look at areas of ourselves that's not so easy to look at. And because I have such a close connection to them at all times. Sometimes people think, oh, you're so lucky. You're always in touch with them. You always have them to answer your questions. Well, one, I don't go to them with every question. And two, even if I did, they will not take over my role. They will not decide my life for me. They will guide me and give me information and knowledge the same as they do everybody else, so that I ultimately um, pay the price. And I also receive the benefit of it when I do apply their advice. And we all have things in our life that we don't want other people to know. And I have always been outed with anything that I would seek to keep private. And that was part of a learning experience for me, that there's nothing really to protect from. And the very things that we believe we are keeping hidden from others is usually the things they see very clearly about ourselves. So to be the vessel also carries a responsibility with it. For me to be present, for me to do the work that I have to do in order to be as clear a vessel for them to speak through. And I am also human, very human some days. And I resist to do the work that I'm to do. 3 weeks have gone by, and yet every one of the days of the 3 weeks, you better believe my ego has been on my case and criticizing me every day. When are you going to do another video? You made a commitment to do this. So when are you going to do it? There is so much for them to bring through. There is so much love, so much knowledge, so much wisdom. And I say to them, yes. And there is also the knowledge that when I channel, whether I channel in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, forget sleep. Their energy is so high that I am so energized afterwards that I don't sleep. And I make use of that time to broaden my practice of being able to see spirit in a physical way as I once saw so clearly as a child. And that for the sake of sanity, sometimes I blocked it because it got very disconcerting when I'm walking through a mall and I have my children by my side and I am dodging people that I see. And when I see spirit, as I did as a child, I can't tell if it's a physical being or a non-physical being. And so my children, especially my youngest son, would often say to me, Mom, would you just walk straight? And I would tell him, like, I can't. There's this person right there. I don't want to walk into them. And he says, Mom, nobody sees it but you. For everybody else, all they see is you say, I'm sorry, and moving aside. He says, nobody else sees them but you. And because I couldn't tell the difference, and when I see them that way now, I still don't know whether they're a physical being or a spirit being, a non-physical being, which, by the way, they do not like to be called when mediums are communicating. They do not like to be referred to as dead people because they are very conscious and they very much have an awareness. So they do prefer non-physical or spirit being, but not dead people. I got that said very clearly to me not that long ago when one showed up in my bedroom. I have protections all around my home, symbols I create with the ocean water and tobacco, and I build a boundary around my yard that says what level of energy is allowed to come into my sacred space. And then my home with energy is very much communicated. Who may enter through my doors? Who may come through windows? My protections that I have, my boundaries that I create is above my home, below my home, around my home, within my home. And every once in a while, someone will break one of my boundaries. And it usually happens when I am attempting to sleep. And they know that I am energized and they know I'm not going to be sleeping. So why not come? And they'll come into my bedroom, which is very much limited for who may come into my bedroom. I have written energetically and with some of my sacred ways that I work with myself, names on the wall behind my bed. Who is allowed in my sleeping area and who is not. And of course, Ma-Ryah and Peter, my guide grandfather, my mother, other loved ones that have passed, and my son and my daughter. And of course, Jesus, the Christ one. So they're allowed in my room. And yet, almost every night, someone not permitted to come into my room will enter. And so, on some ways, it's entertaining. I have someone to have conversations with, not always wanted. And when it is an energy that is not on what I refer to as my A list, I'll say to them, didn't you see the A list written here? Who's allowed in here and who's not allowed in here? And boundaries are important to have in place if you are doing any work with spirit. Otherwise, you are bombarded. If you are choosing to be a medium, if you are choosing to work with spirit, they do not have the attachment of time. We get to experience time. They don't. And for them, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's prime time to get your attention all the way up through dawn because you are sleeping, hopefully, and you are at rest and you are at peace. And if you are not sleeping like what I do, then I am gathering energy to create colors to move, just like if there was you were blowing smoke through different color lights, right? And it moves and it swirls. And so I entertain myself, and that's my way to relax and hopefully to get to sleep. So if you are working with spirit, be sure to have what's your boundaries. There's nothing to fear. And if you ever have contact with any spirits who are not loving spirits, who still hold to a script they knew in a physical form, or they are angry, or they are confused, or they are upset over not completing something, or not realizing they are no longer physical and are now non-physical beings, a spirit. If you ever have that experience, then know that if you do not have the ability to have unconditional love for them, call upon your spirit guides who do have that ability. I went through my phase of ghost busting. I went through my phase of clearing people's homes for them, only to realize that as soon as I left, the spirits would return. And even if I could convince the people who called me into their homes to stand and to work with them and to be part of the process after I left, the energies would return because it was something that they have in their life, a thought, a belief, some words that they spoke. Are they fascinated by hauntings and being scared and placing themselves in that energy? And then it is up to them to choose. Do you allow beings that are not creating with absolute love to come and to be around you? I have also found a side effect of the more clear you become, the more of your shadows that you transform, the more of the moments in your life where you felt less than, not enough, You can't trust love. You can't trust this. You can't trust that. All of our experiences, right? We've all had certain events that triggered in us the negative perceived parts of ourselves and reactions rather than chosen response. And so when that happens, it creates difficulty for ourselves if we are not willing to see how do we transform this? How do we not allow what happened in the past moment to infringe upon our present moment? And one of the areas that working with Ma-Ryah and Peter have shown me is we can pretend that through affirmations, whatever was a blockage for us, a difficulty, a reaction, bringing up feelings of imbalance, anger, and so forth, our fear very strongly, as brings that up, we are now present in those moments. And we can use affirmations only and assist ourselves to believe that I got rid of that. That part's no longer part of me, and guaranteed the universe will quickly show you how that is still there because you are the participant of that script and you are the only one who can change it. And sometimes, as the human being, it gets very tiresome because it is, as it has been referred to often by Peter and Ma-Ryah and other teachers of spirit, it's like peeling of an onion, a very large onion. And some of the layers are so thick and they're easy to peel and easy to remove and to work with. And others are so gossamer thin that when you work with them, it takes such commitment to work with them. And I have learned that by holding on to my stories, it keeps me trapped in my stories. When Ma-Ryah and Peter first began to teach to let go of our stories, to stop living in the story of what once was, I didn't fully understand why. What would that accomplish? And I have found through experience of working with that, it makes a difference. One, if you have not worked with the event and healed the part within yourself that reacts to that event, it's not going anywhere. You cannot get rid of it because it's you. And if you attempt to get rid of it, that part of you is going to fight to be able to stay present. And it's part of the ego state. And so it will keep bringing up the stories to reconnect you to the emotions that occurred in that moment. You can judge for yourself, see for yourself, right? Next time you are sharing a story of something that is part of your past, pay attention to your emotion. Pay attention to how you feel. And if you are telling a story where it was based on anger, right? And then I said, and they responded, and then I came back with, and they learned not to mess with me. Well, you begin to feel the anger that you felt then. If you are living in a story of a very traumatic event that happened perhaps in your childhood, right? I had that. And so a lot of people that I work with have that because you call to you aspects of yourself that are to be healed. Easier to see it in another person than to see it in our own selves. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And for a while, I carried the trauma with me. I spoke about it often. I did public speaking about it. I wrote articles about it. I was interviewed about it. I spoke at a conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, many years past. addressing the effects of abuse on a child. What I noticed in the telling of it was it began to diffuse the emotions that it would take me to, so that in time I could share my story without being the emotion of my story. And so I thought, it doesn't affect me anymore. And it is amazing, absolutely amazing to me how often the story of my childhood affects and impacts me very strongly. Memories come up that I had not remembered before. And so a flashback occurs, and the only thing you can do in a flashback is to take care of yourself, to create a different story, a different outcome, and assist the wounded part of you to know that you're not a helpless child now, right? You're the adult, and you can take care of that part of yourself, and you can help to heal and reunite that part of your consciousness with the full consciousness of you as the physical being. And I began to notice, as Ma-Ryah and Peter were teaching, let go of the stories. That's easier said than done. It's difficult sometimes to do that. We are all about our stories. Our stories say who we are. It helps people to understand how you got to be who you are, right? And you share stories, positive and negative stories. And when you share a positive story, you feel consciously, look for it so you notice it. The joy you feel, the happiness you feel, the empowerment you feel, the acknowledgement that you accomplished something that perhaps you didn't think you could, or you created something, you're proud you created it. And all of these are issues that my mind goes to when I'm not sleeping after channeling. And when I channel every day, that means I don't sleep at all. And if I'm lucky and I don't have commitments for the entire day, and I have some time of my own in the afternoons, and my body reaches a complete depletion, I am able to get an hour's sleep before I awaken again. And often people will ask me, how do I keep going on very little sleep? I know how to download the universal energy. All around us is energy. I am all about energy. I see with my physical eyes, and I don't see clearly unless I can touch it. I have to touch what I'm seeing in order to see it clearly and not miss any details of it. And of course, in the energy is usually information of who sat in the chair before me. What was the artist thinking when they created the painting? I had the privilege of being able to touch the marble sculptures of Gerald Lynch when he was still alive. And he was working on a goddess series, and he had these larger than life marble figures in his studio. And you're not encouraged to touch marbles, statues, because the oils from our hands can affect them in a negative way. And we had had some communication. I took a sculpting class with him and connected with the marble as though I have done it many times. So I was in his studio and I was looking at the series. He had 3 of them complete. And he looked at me and he laughed. He says, I know you can't stand that you're not touching it. He said, go ahead and touch. And so I was able to close my eyes and feel the energy of what he sculpted into these enormous slabs of marble. The muscles of the woman, the softness of her features and such. And he asked me afterwards, what was he feeling? What was he going through personally while he did each sculpture? And so I told him everything each statue told me. And he told me, he says, I don't know if I want to have too many people being able to do that and know me so clearly. And I think that's one of the reasons that I am able to channel Ma-Ryah and Peter and their infinite energy, because I have always been about energy. I'm the child you would see walking through a store with her hands on her stomach, and the mother occasionally saying, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. They're the worst words somebody can say to me, don't touch. It's like tying my hands up and not allowing me to see, right? So we all experience the world according to what works for us. And for me, energy works. Energy is everything and everyone. It has a downside because being aware energetically, you're aware of your auric field and how far it truly extends, which makes it very easy to totally believe we are all connected. Our energies are touching and moving through one another's all the time. And as my energy passes through another's energy, it can be someone across the street, and my energy connects with them. I feel their pain. I receive information that's not my business to receive, and so I don't speak of it. I get to know more about people than what they would want me knowing. But the main downside of it is being able to feel their physical pains, their emotional pains, and I feel it occurring inside of my body. I have since been able to learn through the years how to release it, not to presume it is my responsibility to send healing to them. They did not ask for healing. And if they ask, that's different. Most of the time, they're unaware that our energies have just communicated. And if they were aware of it, they would be able to know as much about me as I was able to know about them. So that's not always a pleasant thing to have happen. And so it's difficult for me to be in large crowds unless I'm channeling, because then I'm expanded to begin with and even more expanded in the connection with grandfather, my guide, Peter and Ma-Ryah. To be able to function sometimes is challenging if I'm in large crowds. So to be able to sometimes people may think that what I do is very easy. Believe me, it took a lot of work on myself, a lot of honest looking at myself, and it is continuous every day. It's like there's never an end to something more to see just when you think you've got it. You've got every layer of that onion. Here it comes again. However, the more that we heal it, the more we take care of it in ourselves, the less we react and the more we choose to respond. When it comes around again and again and again, eventually we have no negative reaction to it. We don't pick up that script again and able to acknowledge it as, yes, here it is again. And I remember how I used to create with this, and I am filled with gratitude that I don't react in that way any longer. Instead, I respond. That does not mean that I don't have my days where I don't want to hear a word from the infinite realms. And I don't want to hear it's a temporary moment. It's only a role. It's not real. It's an illusion because it's not who you really are. And then when they do that, believe me, I am not always respectful in what I have to say to them and let them know that right now, in that moment, whatever is happening, I choose to be in that shadow. And I'm going to feel it and I'm going to experience it and I'm going to dig my heels in. Only I don't dig my heels in as long as I used to. So when I slip in and out of it, I'll be expanded. I'll do my use of the I ams. I have movement and create the I am so it moves through every cell of my body so that my body feels the resonance of the I am. I am. And I expand. And I have that raise up as soon as I acknowledge, oh, I sure reduced my frequency. I am in the shadows. I am in the reactive human. I am mm, visualizing events happening in a certain way, or some my words when I'm driving and someone just yesterday, came back from the grocery store, had to go to get some food for my animals. And the light to turn into where I live is a very short light for turning and making a left-hand turn. There's one car in front of me. One car in front of me. So I knew I was going to make that light. Sometimes you're lucky if three cars get to make the turn and then you sit forever till it gets to that point again. The car in front of me did not go when the green hour for the turn showed up. That person sat with the green light there, and I'm sitting back there and I'm sending thought, go, go. I resorted to honk my horn. I don't like honking my horn at people, so I just tapped it. They still sat there until that green turned yellow, and then they went, and there wasn't time for me to go, so I sat through the red light again until the whole cycle of the light happened, and I was able to make my turn. And immediately I reacted. Some angry words were spoken and directed to them, and sarcasm to them. And as soon as the words were spoken, I caught them. And so I instead sent balance to them and then laughed at myself for how much anger came up, knowing that I had to sit and wait for another. I've timed these lights 2.5 to 3 minutes until I could turn on a green arrow again. And so I laughed at myself because, oh, it's 2.5 minutes. It's 3 minutes, right? Sing a song. Think what you're going to do when you get home. Think what you get to look at and to pay attention to around you for those couple of minutes. So I was still laughing when I went through the gate and the gate person raised the gate. So here was this poor person sitting there. I don't know, maybe they were daydreaming, maybe they were on their phone. Their vehicle was such that I couldn't tell even if it was a man or a woman that was driving it because the seats were too high for me to see. And hear that person hearing the horn honk, maybe did not like the horn honked. And so they chose to wait till it turned yellow, and then they went knowing I would not be able to make it before it turned red. Who knows? But it definitely gave me a laugh at myself for how angry I got. And if we pay attention to ourselves every day, it's amazing how often we're triggered, as we would refer to it. Well, this person triggered me. I was doing fine. And this person said this person said that, or this car sat and didn't allow me to make that light. And the reaction, the energy of it. If I had not instantly grabbed hold of that energy that went towards that person as I spoke my anger, that energy would have gone to them. And they may not be aware of the effects of the energy. They may not know that the energy without your shields, without your filters, is a physical blow. When you have your shields, when you put them down, when you remove the filters that you pass everything through, you'll accept this, you won't accept that. You judge this, you don't judge that. As those filters are laid aside and you see what there is to see, you receive what there is to receive, and you create by choice with how you choose to respond rather than react. If I had not pulled my energy back and instead sent a blessing to that person, wish them well for whatever was their holdup, because a little bit of shadows still came in there. Whatever was the reason that they sat there like that, I don't know what it is. And we don't know why some things occur with people unless we have the opportunity to talk to them. That light is a person could be coming from the hospital that's right there. Maybe there was a loved one in that hospital. Maybe they had been there and got bad news. Or maybe they just decided they were going to sit there and not move. Whatever the reason that they did that, my response didn't have to be anger. And so whether that person would have felt that blow of energy or not, I knew what that is able to do to another without shields, without filters. One of the reasons I do not like being in large crowds of people, because your thoughts also create energy. And without shields up and without filters up, you feel those energies. And so if I pass by someone who is dialoguing in their mind, they're upset, they are angry, they are frustrated, they are worried, they just got in an argument with someone over a difference of opinions or beliefs, even though they don't speak it out loud, our thoughts create energy. And that's able to be felt by people like me who are able to feel the energies. And perhaps I'm speaking so much about the energy tonight because it will shortly be Ma-Ryah and Peter addressing the children that are here now, the babies, during a certain period of time that they will communicate about. They come from pure love. No filters, no shields. They've never been physical. It's the first time separating. First time you're choosing because of love, choosing to join us in our world and to assist us to evolve and to become less reactive, less judgmental, more responsive, and more acceptance and care and concern and kindness and respect and love to everyone. The birthing of the evolution of the human's experience. And these children play a vital role in that. So if you have a child in your family who was born from April 1st, 2023, and was conceived by the end of April 2025, Ma-Ryah and Peter refer to these children as the children of remembrance. And there's been a lot of videos of some of these babies in the delivery room acting in a way that babies aren't supposed to, especially newborns. So if you have a child of your own and fits in that range, or some babies in your family, or you know someone with a child born and ultimately conceived by the end of April. So by the last day of April 2025, count out 9 months, go a little bit, 9.5 months for some that are a little late in making their entrance, right? These children are such a gift to us. And yet we have a responsibility to these children to help them be who they are now and not pick up our fears, not pick up our struggles and our judgments. So I guess that's what they're going to be talking about. Thanks. So I will set aside time for that video. And it might take one or possibly two videos to go fully into these amazing, amazing souls who have volunteered to separate from who they are, the infinite spirit of absolute love and radiant light, to help us. So if you have these children and you would like to learn about them, watch for that videos. Both of those videos, I'm receiving that it's 2 videos, so we'll see. So I've been doing this now for 42 minutes. I don't, this is me after channeling. I could talk until dawn and beyond. If it's too bad that there isn't something that I could build right now, or I could go and do. I could do art. I could write. I do a lot of writing, but not the writing of a book, as Peter and Ma-Ryah have pushed me to do. I dug my heels in for that one, out of shadow and fear. However, writing is something that I have always used to help me to understand what I'm feeling, help me to work through a moment where I am very, very human and don't want to hear anything except commiserating with where I am and to be all right where I am. And where I am sometimes is a dark place until I work with it and bring myself out of it. And all of the time, when I go to very dark, depressed places in myself, it's always because of an attachment to my story and what once happened not only the childhood, all through my adult life. We all have that. We all have where we feel wronged by another, where we feel judged, where we do not feel love, where we do not find acceptance. We all have our moments. We all have our shadows. We all have our struggles, and we all have our gifts, and we all have beautiful parts of ourselves. And so, working with the energy and the information received from the infinite realms, we get such an opportunity, oh my goodness, to see ourselves in a different way, to forgive ourselves, to forgive our souls for piling so much on our plate to transform in one lifetime. That one's a issue I still am working with, because from creating and choosing parts of the life we are entering, the soul does not remember it in the way we experience it as human beings. So it's, well, how about this? And how about that? And let's add this. And let's put this experience in your path. If you can hold on to who you are after this experience, and for me, that biggest experience to work with is the death of my son and my daughter, my adult children, and to still choose to be the vessel, to still choose to see and create and to know myself, and others to see and to know myself as someone who has walked her talk. And there isn't much of anything that anyone who speaks with me or Ma-Ryah or Peter would shock us. That would be something I haven't ever heard. And sometimes is very familiar because it will match so much my own life. So to be authentic in who we are, even when sometimes that authentic part isn't so beautiful and loving in the moment, if we react to anyone or anything, it's ourselves that has the issue. It's ourselves that has the responsibility of changing it, because we are only seeing ourselves in the form of another. See our gifts, we see our shadows, we see our light, we see our darkness. We are both because we are physical. We get to choose all the time. Everything we do is a choice. You choose light, love, or you choose dark, fear. You react or you respond. And becoming more responsive than reactive, it takes commitment to do the work. It takes vulnerability and honesty within your own self. It challenges. And yet the result of it, even on the days where I wonder, why did I ever pick this for my life? This role, the vessel? And I'm not in a mood to hear all the light and all the love and all the teachings and the wisdom and the knowledge, and handed all the tools to apply to transform the areas of self that create pain or separation or diminishment. Even in those moments, I am grateful for all I have been presented in order to remember. We're here experiencing who we are not in order to evolve and to be able to live a physical life without distorting our being of our spirit, and to be here absolutely loving, no judgment. Can you imagine if you never spoke a word of judgment the rest of your life? I'm working on it. Don't know if I'll achieve it this time. I'm working on it though. Because when we judge another, we are truly judging ourselves. And we are judging a part of self that is asking us, do we see this part of us? Are we able to have compassion? Are we able to embrace this part of ourself with compassion and understanding, acknowledgement of what it must have taken for that part of us, our soul, to diminish itself so greatly to be able to do that and to live that? So I thank you for listening to my ramblings after channeling. It helps to unload some of the energy I've got inside of me right now, because it is pretty shortly going to be 1 o'clock in the morning here. And I do have appointments tomorrow, or today, rather later today. If you see this and you happen to be a night owl, or any time that you see it, because all time is now time, we only experience it as separate moments and measurable moments here. So if whenever you see this, I would appreciate it so much if you would send an energy thought that when I go to sleep, to my bed to go to sleep, you send me peaceful sleep. I will receive that energy and I get to sleep at least an hour. All right. So I'm going to say good night, good morning. I hope that your Wednesday is very balanced and you receive what you have chosen to experience that day. And I hope you receive more smiles, more happiness sent your way, and someone sitting behind you in a car being frustrated with you and sending anger your way. Within a few days, video beginning the teachings of the Children of Remembrance is going to be posted. That is my commitment. So, bless each and every one of you. And good night.